I'm going to show you is the problem with retirement planning that should actually be different whenever you go into retirement, because you're transitioning now into a distribution mode. And for most of us, when we're accumulating wealth, it kind of goes unnoticed because, we're creatures of habit. For example, so we accumulate assets. We put $100 away into our out of our paycheck to Fidelity 401k or 403b or thrift savings plan, whatever the plan is. And we started 4 years ago and we were accumulating wealth. What you were doing was you were buying shares, and you're continuing to buy shares until you get in your 60s. And then all those shares that you owned now, because that's ownership, because you own, the individual, you own the stocks that are inside the mutual funds, and hopefully you use stocks to get you to the place of retirement, because that's the best way to grow your assets. And so sometimes people got to realize when you go into retirement, you want to be as successful in retirement as you were accumulating assets. But if you want to be successful, what you don't want to do is use the same plan that got you to retirement to get you through retirement. And so a great example of that is this. And so right now what I did is I drawed out what seems to be a puzzle piece. And let's just say this is a huge farm, and each one of those right there represents acres of land, okay? And whenever we transition over here to the distribution mode, it's going to look the same way, because when we're accumulating wealth, we don't own all the acres all at once, right? You start off accumulating acre by acre. And I'm using an analogy of a farm here. And then we go into retirement. I'm going to show you what that looks like, or at least what 99% of the portfolios we examine today what happens when we start spending money, because you need money for income when you go into retirement. So in other words, what got you here to this point, you're going to, more than likely, you're going to fall prey to the same tools and you're going to try to get you through retirement. And we're going to show you why that is really, to be quite honest with you, it's going to be a problem that's not going to occur out of the gate, but it's going to occur down the road somewhere. And so here's the best way of looking at this. So what I've got here is total return equals I plus G. All mutual funds, exchange traded funds, stocks, bonds, whatever tools are being used, most people use mutual funds in their 401k. And so but there's two ways you make a return. Interest or dividends that comes from bonds and stocks, and then you get capital appreciation. Now, the tool that helps people build wealth the most is actually growth. That's the reason why, if you'll notice here, I believe people should be 100% in stocks and not even thinking about bond-like portfolios until they get closer to or even in retirement. But G for growth, I need capital appreciation. Not only that, the reason I like growth when I build my wealth is that I get bigger drops, and so it means I get to buy low more often, maybe through a 40-year time frame. So with that being said, what's happening here, let's just say year one, you're setting aside $100 a month into your 401k. What that's doing is it's buying shares. So, and I'm just going to color this as if, okay, you just now bought 1 acre of land, okay? The following year, let's just say the markets go up and you only got to buy a little less because the cost of those shares costs more. So in other words, you're going to buy less in another year. And then another year, you may have a big drop, and so you may see a bigger amount of shares in the big years. In other words, in the down market years. So when the markets go down, you buy more shares. When the markets go up, you buy less shares. But keep in mind, the point here is you're constantly buying. And so when you're doing this year by year until this puzzle and using acres of farmland is completely filled, and you've already got your farm built. And your farm, again, I'm using the farm because land appreciates in value over time, just to kind of get the point here. And you do the same thing with stocks. So what am I mean by that? So I'm just going to use two scenarios when I'm talking about buying shares in various markets. And the thing is, we're dollar cost averaging when we're buying these acres, which is equivalent to shares. And so when you come down here, let's just say you're setting aside that $100. Let me break this down for you here. Out of each paycheck, and the first month, the share prices are $10. So the question is how many shares did I buy? I bought 10 shares, right? So that's what I mean here. This is just 1 month to try to make a point here. Okay, because right now you're acquiring shares, you're acquiring ownership. Ownership is everything when you're accumulating wealth. This is how the wealth gets wealthier, and they just keep buying shares until this thing is completely full. We're going to pretend like it's full. I don't have much time to go through all that. But let's just say you set aside another monthly paycheck into your 401k just to make a point, and it's at $5 a share. Well, when you think about that for a moment, in the down market, I actually bought 20 shares. So actually, whenever I'm building wealth, I'm actually doing better in the down market than I am in the up markets. And so that's what I mean here is some years you may buy less shares, other years you may buy a real big share, a lot amount of shares, because that's exactly what happened between 2000 and 2013. So for those 13 years, there was a 50% drop. It ended coming about 03, and then 09, this ended, the financial crisis. This was a 60% drop. And I tell people all the time, the rich really got richer right here because in these down markets right here. This is where people become bigger capitalists because they're buying more and more shares. It's the same thing right here. Keep in mind the question, the thing is though, you want to buy all the shares you can because that's what accumulation wealth does, because everybody says, well, the markets always go up. Okay, well, if that's the case, then if I buy more here when it goes up, I'm exponentially growing my wealth. And you're doing that for 40 years. And that, to be honest with you people, is the easy part. Okay, as long as you got the discipline to set aside money, which most people we meet with apparently did. They come in here, they either got $1 million or they got $3 million or $5 million, or they even got $500,000, maybe got their house paid off, whatever amount they saved. It equates to this farm like here and this little analogy here. But now whenever you transition into retirement, how does that look like? Because now you're starting to withdraw money. You're not adding, you're no longer buying shares. And the biggest reason why is because nobody's contributing to this plan, and neither is the employer contributing to the plan. Now you're subtracting from the plan, okay? Subtracting basically means because if you don't get focused on the I over here in this plan, okay, which is the right way to retire, then you're going to find yourself using the same plan that got you here to get you here. And really all financial advisors primarily do, since they know you're comfortable with mutual funds, let's keep you in mutual funds because you're comfortable with that. We're creatures of habit. We don't want to make changes, right? So what they'll say is we're going to do risk management for you. And so that means we're going to create cash flow for you, okay? And cash flow means this. We're going to take withdrawals from your portfolio, okay? Now, unbeknownst to you, you can't really question that because, first of all, they're a financial advisor. If they're giving this advice, they're giving to all their clients advice. So, but what happens is if you remember over here, you were buying, when the markets took a dip, you were buying more shares. When the markets went up in value, you bought less shares. When you go into retirement, now you're subtracting from your accounts now. Unless this number right here, I'm going to put arrows all the way around it right here, unless this number right here is big enough to prevent you from getting rid of your acres of property right here. And I'm using a farm right here because in 2000 to 2013, $1 million portfolio, by the time it went through that 12 plus year period right there, the $1 million got cut in half. And the question is how did that happen? That's because from here to here, the person was selling more and more shares in the down markets, in these sharp down markets. And when the market started riding back up, they were starting to sell less and less, but it doesn't matter. They didn't have enough in income or interest and dividends, so they were forced to actually spend their acres here or shares just to try to help you to understand this. Because this is the most important part. This is the part that the point I'm trying to make on the radio and everything, that it's all about ownership, and you don't want to give up ownership. But exactly what's going to happen in retirement is you are going to give up ownership. There's no way around it, because these tools cannot get you through retirement. They're not eye-focused. And so, because think about it for a moment. Let's just say that this doesn't exist anymore, and this is all black, and it's gone. You lost that much of your farm. That means this part right here that's left, in order to get it back to the regular real value, you got to sacrifice time in retirement. You may be 75 years old, and not only that, you don't like it because you're down $500,000. And so you're going to wait till maybe it comes back to 700,000 or 800,000. What I mean by sacrifice time means you're not going to take income. I mean, what was the point of retirement? So in other words, if you were eye focused, in other words, if you get your income up, just like a farmer would, and instead of not having hardly any acres generating any income, put the whole farm at work, just live off the crops and keep your land. That's the whole point here. So I hope this makes a lot of sense to you, the difference between accumulation and distribution mode. But if you use these strategies right here and go right into retirement using the same strategies, and all you really do is just reduce your risk by adding bond funds to it, that's not really helping you at all. Why? Because you're having to sell shares regardless.